Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to pay attention and listen to the Empower series for April Financial Literacy Month, where you're going to be engaged with an esteemed set of panelists who are going to talk about real life experiences of dealing with financial advisors. And then myself, I'll tell you some of the basic building blocks for you to get a strong foundation for you to build on, some tips for you to use throughout your life, so that you can create your own definition of financial freedom. So with that, we encourage you to stay tuned, listen to the April Empower Series Financial Literacy Month video, take away some nuggets for you to take and use in your own life to take action and improve your life. So again, welcome you to stick around and pay attention and learn some great stuff. Thanks. So I'm going to challenge you guys to answer a simple question. It might have a difficult answer, but a simple question. What does freedom mean to you? So think about that. What does freedom mean to you? And so let's clarify that a little bit. What does financial freedom mean to you? So not the dictionary version, but this is the you, yourself, and I definition of what does financial freedom mean to you. And so just think about that as we go through the talk today, as we listen to our panelists, because I would bet that it's different for every single one of you guys. But I would bet that you haven't spent a lot of time defining what that is. Now, what Clifton didn't mention to you is I'm actually a mind reader. And I have had bubble thoughts come up as to what each of you guys are thinking of what financial freedom means to you. So tell me if I'm on track here. It means I have the ability to go on vacation maybe once a year. Nod your head if that kind of might have been in your thoughts. I have a little extra money left in the bank account after paying bills. I might be able to go buy that Cadillac I've always been dreaming of. Maybe I want to go buy a house, maybe buy a bigger house. I would argue that really isn't your definition of financial freedom. That is consumerism dragging you along their path of what they want you to think of as financial freedom, as what freedom is, the American dream. Because what does that really mean? It means you're always looking to go buy the next best thing. Right? I mean, think about it. You go to school, you get into debt at college, now you have to go to work to pay off that debt. Then you go from renting an apartment to buying a house. You get into debt to buy the house. And then you think, oh, I have to pay off the debt, so I have to go back to work to a job you probably don't like, to then escape from that job to go on vacation with money you don't have, to then get further into debt, to then repeat the cycle. And so you have to ask yourself and take a step back, I think, and this is what I advise my clients to do, and really look at the forest for the trees of what is it that you want to define as your life, as your definition of financial freedom and as freedom for you. Because the script that most of us, we wake up every day and get lulled into is all of the ads and all of the messages that you get of buy the new this, experience the new that. And typically you're working in a job that you might not like, buying stuff you don't need to impress people you don't even like, right? And so think through that question today of what does financial freedom mean for you? Because we have some handouts here, and we're going to talk a little bit later with some of our panelists on their experiences. What I've found in talking to hundreds, maybe even thousands of clients is achieving financial success, financial foundation, isn't that difficult. It amounts to a lot of basic building blocks. You spend less than you make. You come up with a plan, and you work the plan. It's really that simple. Spend less than you make, come up with an investment plan, and then work the plan. Does that sound difficult? No. But what makes it difficult for us to achieve it? I mean, think about how many of you guys have said, hey, I want to lose weight. We eat less, work out more, and you'll what? Lose weight. But how many of us actually eat less when the donut is sitting in front of you, so your present self is looking at this donut, and your future self is way over here, a little slimmer? So who wins out? The emotional what I want person, or the one that is needed over here? Who wins out typically? Here or here? Over here, right? So you want to save for retirement. So again, the present self. Best Buy's got that 0% interest so I can buy that flatter TV. Or I save some money and I have retirement 30 years from now. So it's the discipline of taking your present self to visualize what that future person needs. That's hard to do. Because that person is a year away, 3 years away, 30 years away. When, as someone last night said, I want to live life to the fullest now, right? Well, if you could get in a time machine and transform yourself to this person over here, and you could look at them side by side, then you might be able to more proactively make those decisions that could be best interest for your future and present self. But that's hard, that's very hard to do. So discipline is one of the most difficult behaviors that we as coaches and advisors have to help our clients with. That's why you come to a workout coach. That's why you come to a financial coach, is for them to help you with that discipline to tackle those basic tasks that, it's just tough for you to do. It's tough for us as humans. That's just something all of us have a hard time doing. Do we agree on that? And so what I want you guys to walk away from today, hopefully, is lessen the fear of this is something that's difficult and it's rocket science. It is not rocket science. It's just hard to do through discipline. And that's why we've asked some people to come talk about their experiences of how they've benefited from having help through that discipline and through that process. Because you don't have to do it alone. Quite often, you're going to be better off with that coach. There's tons of studies out there that show people who have an advisor have on average 50% more saved than someone who doesn't. So someone tell me, why would you not have an advisor if that is the statistic of millions of people in America? Give me a reason why people in the audience have chosen or have not, yet started working with an advisor. Give me some reasons. Yes.
Maybe because you think that you have to have a perfect financial situation or a perfect scenario or enough money per se to start working with a financial advisor.
Okay. Did y'all hear that? You need to be in a perfect scenario, have a certain amount of money. We hear it all the time. There's no perfect scenario. Some advisors do have minimum amounts of money you need to have for them to work with you. But I guarantee you there's an advisor who can help every single person here in this room. They might not be the same advisor, but there are advisors who can help every single person. You could be in debt up to your eyeballs, and they can still help you. So give me some other reasons.
The cost to have a financial advisor.
So how much do you think it costs to have a financial advisor? I mean, guess, what do you think? What are some fee structures, some costs? I mean, what do you think? If you were to walk into my office or anyone's office, what do you think they're going to charge?
About $30 an hour or $30 a session.
$30 a session? Okay. What are some other thoughts on what costs are out there?
According to what you're asking for, what you need them to do for you, maybe a retirement planning or
So they might charge to create a retirement plan.
some type of portfolio, just depending on what you want.
Gotcha.
Package you asking for.
True, very true. So again, it ranges. It ranges. Some people will say, let me see how much you have, and that's going to determine how much I'm going to charge you. Others have flat fees that say, hey, if I'm going to create a retirement plan, it's going to cost you X, $100, $1,000, $5,000. Others might say, as your money grows, my fee is a percentage of that. So as you win, I win. There's lots of different models out there. And there are quite a few where they don't charge you for the retirement plan. They don't charge you for those consultations and those services. They are making money off of the growth of your money, so it's a win-win. So it might not cost you anything up front for you to get that experience and that advice. So I want you guys to take away again, it's not rocket science, but it is hard work. And you don't have to do it alone. We really are trying to lessen the apprehension and the fears so that more of you can get the help that will get you to those percentages that have more, that are living that financial freedom life through intentionality, through focus, and through discipline. Is that fair?
Yep.
So in your packets, we have a couple of things for you to take away. On top is hopefully an evaluation sheet. We ask you guys to give us feedback because we're always looking for ways to improve the delivery, content, in the Empower series. The next is what I'm going to walk through after. These are some financial principles to live by. A balance sheet, we have to understand where our money's coming in and going. A retirement checklist, and then a great booklet by the Federal Reserve that talks about building wealth. Okay. So take all of this with you. It's yours to keep. Reference it, read it. I highly encourage you guys to look through all of this. Take the time out for yourself. This is for you. And I guarantee you, no one's going to be coming to help figure out what your definition is. You have to figure that out. But you can reach out and get help for you to achieve those things. So let's walk through this real quick, and then I want to bring up our panelists so we can chat and hear their experiences on what are some basic financial principles for us to live by. And I was watching a financial expert on 60 Minutes, and he came up with the phrase of, I wanted to simplify this so that it could fit on an index card. And so again, not rocket science. It's just things that you need to follow. And so the first is strive to save 10 to 20% of your income. What do you think the average is that people save today? Throw out some numbers. 10%? 0? 6? So the average is around 4 to 7%. So where do you think those numbers came from, predominantly?
401k, because they save according to what the match is going to be by the company.
Ding, ding, ding. Do y'all hear that? Yeah. The amount that most people save is dictated by what their employer matches to your 401k. And then we, who haven't been given financial education, assume, okay, well, shoot, if IBM is saying they're going to give me 5%, then that must be enough for me to save for my financial future. That's not the case at all. That's just how much they're going to match. And so most averages are 4 to 7%, driven by how much your employer is contributing to your 401k. What you need to be doing is between 10 to 20%. The average is around 16%. And so what's the difficulty with the present self saving 16% if you're starting at 0? What are some difficulties you think from going from 0 to 16? That's tough, right? And so one of the concepts that you might think of is, okay, I'm at 0% today, but my future self is going to get a raise of 3%. So what if you contribute 50% of that raise to saving? So now you're at 1.5. You get another 3% raise. You contribute 50% of that raise. And then before you know it, you have edged up to that 16%. So again, that goes back to discipline of your future self. Your present self has a tough time figuring out ways to do that. But if you take baby steps towards it, you can over time achieve that. So remember, think 16% is really the average that most advisors and experts have said you need to get to. So if you're not there, what are some baby steps that you can use to get there? Number 2, pay your credit card off every month. Why is that important? Interest. Because who is the interest making rich? Your bank, your credit card company, right? So if you have 18% interest on some debt, again, buying stuff you didn't need to impress people you don't like, you're only putting yourself farther away from that goal of attaining financial freedom for yourself. So the sooner you can get into a position of you're either spending less so you can pay off that credit card every month, or you're saving more, the sooner you're going to get to where you're achieving your goals. And the amount of debt that the average American has is around $22,000. You multiply that times the average percentage rate of around 16%, and it starts to add up. So target your highest percentage credit card debt, whatever it is, pay it off aggressively, and then move down to the lower percent, and so on and so forth. Got it? Number 3, max out your tax-advantaged accounts. And so that might vary based on your situation. If you're self-employed, it might mean a simple IRA or a SEP IRA. or a personal traditional or Roth IRA. If you work for a corporation, it might be a 401k. If you work for a public institution, it might be a 403b, 457. Understand how those plans work and max it out to your situation. And it might be you need to do some pre-tax, maybe you need to do some after-tax. But those are there to help your future self be prepared for college for your kids, retirement for yourself. Number 4 might surprise you. Rarely buy individual stocks. The experts have a hard time picking the right stocks, so what makes you think you can? The experts have a hard time picking the right stocks, so why even worry about you doing it? Look for diversified investment opportunities. Again, work with the financial advisor and they can help you with this, which is number 6. Find an advisor that's aligned with your goals. We talked about there's different ways that advisors get paid. There's different focuses that they have. Talk to a couple and understand who might be the best one that fits with your goals at that time. There's nothing that says you have to have one advisor. There's nothing that says you got to stick with that advisor your whole career. You just have to get started. And I'm challenging you again, take action and get started. So the next one, buy a home when you're financially ready. Again, you don't want to get into a situation where it's going to turn you upside down, to where we're in this real estate fiasco that we had back in 2007-8, because, again, consumerism is the greed of I'm dangling something in front of you so that you actually stretch yourself to buy something that you don't need. And not only do you buy a house that's more expensive than you need, it's bigger than you probably want. And then you get to a point where you're having to foreclose on it, and now you're all upside down. So buy a house that is right for you when you are financially ready. The next one, protect what you have. I know it's not fun to think of I'm sending off a premium for some insurance because it's not helping me to grow my assets, but life happens. You know, that tree falls on your roof, you have a medical emergency, something happens. You don't want to be in a position where everything you've worked for goes away because you haven't protected either yourself as the most valuable asset in your life or all of the other possessions that you have. So make sure you have proper protection. And then again, going to that mindset, the next one of thinking of your present self and your future self, come up with a plan that has near-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, because it's very, very, very difficult to think about that 30-year you and change your attitude today. So come up with goals for this month, whether it's I'm balancing my budget so that I'm not spending more than I make. I'm saving 3 months of expense money so that I have an emergency savings bucket. I'm saving 1 times my salary to be in my retirement fund. You know, maybe that's your first year goal. And then it's 2 times my salary and 6 months of spending money in my emergency fund. So you have to come up with short-term, near-term, long-term goals to help you keep on track. Every financial advisor is going to put you on a plan like that because we know behavioral economics is a strong motivator of I have to do something that is going to show me success today, show me success soon, because I can't wait for 30 years. Does that make sense? And the last thing, someone read, what's the last thing say?
Take action. Knowledge is not power.
Take action. I know you guys love Clifton. You love the Empire series. He puts on fantastic events, but I promise you, he is doing this to help you improve your situation. And that can only happen if you, what? Take action. So what are some action items that you're going to take away from today? Meet with a financial advisor. What else? Save more. Spend less. Come up with a plan. You're going to define. What was the first thing I asked you guys? Define financial freedom. What does that mean for you? You have to be intentional, guys. You have to be intentional. You have to be focused. And you have to be disciplined. That's the only way you're going to achieve these goals. It's not rocket science. It is a little difficult. But we have people who are more than willing to help you along the way. So with that, can we bring up our esteemed panel guests? Any questions for me as they're coming up? I know you guys have questions. Come on. Give me some questions. What were some things that you want to hear so we can make sure we ask those questions?
What about retirement and, you made some mistakes as far as going and taking out your money early and messing up and you want to like
No, come on up.
start,
So what about retirement?
Yeah, like you started really your retirement late. You did have some retirement, but you went and took it out or whatever. You kind of started over kind of late in life, or not. Some good options or some good ideas to kind of get started?
So the question was, what if you're planning for retirement? You're starting a little late. What are some suggestions? So if you think of money equaling the amount of money you have to invest times the amount of time you have for that investment to compound or grow, times the amount of risk you're willing to take, that's the equation you have on here. So if you have procrastinated or life has happened and you've fallen behind, then your time might be a little shortened. So that just means we're going to have to either take more risks than maybe you're comfortable with, or find more money to invest, or less money that you're going to have to spend in the future. So those are your variables. And so, in a situation where you're maybe starting a little later, maybe you'll have to work a little longer to extend that time frame. Maybe you'll have to resolve the spending a little less in retirement. Or maybe you'll have to take a little bit more risks with the investments than you're comfortable with because of the situation you're in. There's only so much you can do. But those are great scenarios for a professional to help you explore those options. Any other questions before we? Yes?
If you don't have 401k, what's the best way to save for retirement?
So if you don't have a 401k, what's the best way to save for retirement? So it depends. But there are several other retirement vehicles out there, like an individual retirement account, an IRA. There's two types there. There's a pre-tax traditional IRA, and there's the after-tax Roth IRA. So with taxes being relatively low, that's why you hear a lot about the Roth, is because people are saying, let me pay my taxes today so that I don't have to worry about Uncle Sam taking money out of my pocket in the future. Because I don't know what rate that's going to be in the future. Taxes were just reduced a little bit with the act that just went into place. And so taxes are pretty low. So that's why people are saying, let me pay my taxes now and then have that balance grow tax deferred, and then I pull out the balance tax free. So an IRA would be a great tool to use. There's other vehicles as well. Cash value life insurance, tax-free municipal bonds are great tax-free and tax-deferred vehicles that you can use to try and maximize the principal you have now. That make sense? Other quick questions before we jump into our esteemed panel. Questions? No? All right, well, let's jump to, and again, I'm going to ask a couple of questions, but I encourage you guys to, again, raise hands and ask, because we have a variety of experience from people who just started with advisors, people who've had multiple advisors, some good, some bad experiences. We know it's not perfect, but this is here for you. So maybe if you guys could just quickly introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Good morning, all. My name is Chris Hawkins, and I am a prosecutor for the Dallas County DA's office. I'm the chief prosecutor in the mental health unit, and I've been with the DA's office for 10 years now. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm at the beginning of my finance journey, and I will tell you whatever you want to know.
All right, good morning. My name is Quinn Love. I'm currently a senior at University of Texas at Dallas studying human resources management, and I also am an HR generalist at a company called Kest.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Dexter Evans, and I am a information industry sales rep. So I work with organizations that provide online research to libraries, corporations, hospitals, and the government. And I built a sense of finding my way through the course of my journey, wanting to be an information specialist. So I wanted to be a librarian because I met someone who influenced me and gave me an opportunity to show that. So glad to be here today. And like the two esteemed panelists I have here with me, we look forward to talking to you guys and giving as much information as we can.
So Chris, maybe if you could tell us what made you want to reach out to an advisor to begin with?
Okay, so I'm a firm believer that God takes care of all people, babies, and fools. Now, I'm not going to say where I fall in the spectrum, but I have been blessed with people around me that have a different experience than I have. And so as we have grown together as a group of friends, everyone kind of starts at the beginning, and some of my friends have done exponentially well. And so by virtue of them understanding iron sharpens iron, we are only as strong as the weakest one of the group. So there's a member of my group who is he is one of the leaders in the Comerica Bank process. His name is Irvin Ashford. And Irv strongly recommended that I get connected with a financial advisor.
Gotcha. And Irv is a huge supporter of the Empower series, so glad that we connected that loop here. Dexter, tell us a little bit about what brought you to your first advisor, and then maybe, how you got to some of the ones after that.
I met my mentor, who later became a mentor. He was a professor at the University of North Texas, and he saw me walking to McDonald's to go to work because I put myself through school, and I walked to work every day across campus, and he saw me and asked a few questions. We got into a good conversation, and I became very defensive when he told me to start building my credit. Because where I came from, cash is king. And so he wanted to sit me down and talk about the principles of building your credit, which led to, I need help. I don't understand what credit means, and I didn't understand what handling money meant, even in being in college. So that's what started my first effort to meet a financial advisor, is that he was at the pinnacle of his career telling me I'm an older man and I don't have time to take risk. You're a younger man, and you should start considering building now, taking those risks that may pay off for you later.
Gotcha. Now, when Clifton earlier asked who doesn't have an advisor, you guys raise your hand again. Okay. So Quinn, you're the the young one of the group. What reasons did you have for reaching out to an advisor so young, so early in your career?
So for starters, I had been receiving some financial advice from my mother's advisor. So my mom, I grew up pretty much with her. She's a single mother, and so she was recently told, or at that time told, that having a financial advisor was probably really smart for her at the time, having 3 kids. And then going off to college, she had strongly advised me and encouraged me to also do the same thing, to get my own financial advisor. So I started doing that, and I met Mark, and that was the path that I took.
So maybe again, going down the row here, what was your expectation of the financial advisor process before you went? And then describe how it was a little different, if it was, once you went through and started working with an advisor.
Okay, so I'll confess, as a state prosecutor, of course, we're not at the top of the food chain as far as earning goes, right? Public servant. And so initially my pause was that I didn't have enough money. I mean, it was all right, but I thought people that had financial advisors had loads of cash, because at the end of the day, like he started out with the explanation, well, you have to put this percent aside and that percent aside, and that's when I go deaf. So I'm a language person. So you're gonna have to say something different to me, because if you lose me talking about percents and this and that, I'm out of there. And so my financial advisor started to speak to me in plain English. So he asked that I please submit to him before our meeting 3 months of bank accounts, 3 months of pay stubs, and he wanted some of the portfolio information we had from work, which I didn't know, because I just know we contribute, I think it's a 7% matching program.
May I have your attention, please? Our
Yes.
children and parents that are here for the egg hunt today, you can start lining up now outside, and we're about to start. So you can come outside and start lining up, so we can start the egg hunt today. Thank you.
And so once I got in there, the first thing he kind of explained to me, he says, do you know, I think you've covered the biggest hurdle. He says, people are more apt, or will talk to you more about their very personal and private events, sex life and everything. They will talk to you more about that than they will open up their finances to you. He says, because now that I've kind of tracked 3 months of your spending, you don't have to say 2 words to me. I know who you are. And I didn't. I mean, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm doing this, and I was doing that. However, I'd never taken the time to understand who I was, and I did not realize how my actions were directing my future and whatnot. So, and he says, you do what's important to you. You spend on what you want, and that's how I know who you are. So it was a lesson in me first, because again, I thought I was prudent. I thought I was a good financial steward. Yes, I paid my tithes, but sometimes if I wanted a handbag, then because he was able to look at this. He says, I don't understand. You paid tithes this month, and you didn't this month. And so we're having conversations like that about my responsibility or lack thereof. So the very first meeting was just a true, honest look at who I am versus who I thought I was and who I needed to be, if that answers.
Oh, no, that does. I mean, what did we talk about earlier? Discipline. That's a tough thing to achieve. I mean, it really is, especially if you're doing it all by yourself without any guidance and help along the way. So Quinn, how did your experience differ from your expectations?
So kind of going with the financial advisor at first felt like a chore, being that it was kind of like a dentist appointment where your parents say you need to go to it and you're like, okay, I guess I'll go. I didn't really see the value of it at first, because I just thought, again, it was something my parents were making me go do. And so when I first met with my financial advisor, he kind of asked like the questions of what are you trying to achieve? What do you currently have on your plate as far as like financial responsibilities? And what are you hoping to do? So we talked about my plans of wanting to start travel, being that I'm not going on family trips as much and I'm going to be paying for my own. So things like that are pretty much our conversations we talked about. And then just also looking at like my life insurance plans and things like that. So just kind of laying everything, like she said, on the table and kind of coming up with what is my overall goal from now and then in the future.
So you guys see how it progresses. It starts with where you're at now, taking an assessment, and believe me, advisors have seen it all. They are not judging you one bit. They're really trying to, their mind is racing to, okay, how can I help this person get from their present state to that future version of where they want or need to be? That's all they're thinking was, how do we get from here to here? Not, oh my gosh, she bought another handbag? I mean, maybe if you do it a couple of times, but it's really, how do we help you to go from A to B? So, Sir Dexter, give us your expectations and your reality.
I had no expectations. It was fear more than anything. It was shame. It was unsettling because I thought, I don't have anything to talk to him about. I don't have no money, so what is he going to talk? What is he going to tell me? So I go to him, and just as the young lady here said, it was just so very uncomfortable. It was like going to a doctor's appointment when he was asking me to unrobe or disrobe. So I really had $800 to invest. So I felt shame, shame, shame. Coming from an economic background where I had a single mom, and me and my sister, growing up poor was just my mentality. I didn't think much of it, but I knew I wanted more. So my expectations were very limited, but it felt very scary. But I met a very, very good person who really engaged and made me understand this process is to get over the fear first, and then we start. He says, I can't help you if you don't want to be helped. So the first thing we have to do is get over this fear and this shame. That is what I took to the meeting. So now in hindsight, I look forward to going to appointments with an advisor. I look forward to having conversations that I'm trying to figure out what's my next step, what's my next goal. And when you start over the years knocking out goals, then you start identifying dreams. Then you start saying, well, I'm living a dream. Then you go to the next one. Then you go to, all of it was because I then began to understand how to let go of it. So my expectations started to then build, that I expected something from my advisor. And that was a little bit more defined sense of what I'm trying to accomplish, helping me understand the numbers and helping me understand the path. That is when I started to get it. And then it became fun. And the discipline part was, it's unattractive. It's not sexy to save every month, to look for that little $5. It ain't sexy. But if they can tell you something and then it starts to become fruition, it's very fun and it's very rewarding and it's very exciting. So I just built myself up to believe I have to let this fear go. Man, I've never had anything. So why am I scared now? But I felt ashamed talking to this gentleman. I'm thinking that he's rich or has a very well-to-do lifestyle, and I'm thinking, well, I have nothing. But it is a mindset. And once I got that mindset settled, I understood better, and I was a better steward to this process.
So did you guys hear a couple of key phrases in there? It's a path, it's a process. You have to start somewhere. And each of us are going to start at a different point in our life for a myriad of reasons. But that's your starting point. That's you and your hurdles, in the starting blocks getting ready for that race. And we help you to get there. So, again, don't think of it as I have to come with X amount of money or I have to come with a certain amount of experience. It's you come as you are. You are you are who you are. And we try to understand that as best we can and then help you to come up with what's the steps to help you to get from point A to B to C to then ultimately Z and beyond. We're not trying to get you from A to Z, instantaneously. And you're going to make changes along the way. So, we've been talking kind of all rose-colored glasses. What were some negative, experiences, if any, that any of you guys have had? And maybe just chime in because maybe you haven't had any.
I think mine is the same thing of discipline. It's like going in a store and you see a couple of things you want to buy, but still trying to make sure you stick to your goal. So that's mine.
I think my negative experience, the discipline has been tough, but what was toughest to me was the understanding that, yes, I have a pretty decent salary, but I'm still worth a negative amount, because there's the assessment where you have to add up your assets and your liabilities. And so I was like, oh, I have a this, I have a this, I have a this. He said, and on the flip side, you owe her that, you owe her that, you owe her that. And I think once he finished with the numbers, I had to fight back tears when he told me I was worth like $1,200. I said, what? So the sobering part was hardest for me. And you said something that is amazing to me. I applaud your mom. She's a single mom, and you had a legacy with someone to teach you that. And a few of us in here are flying blind. Like my mom was a teacher's aide. And so lack is a gross understatement of my reality growing up. So I'm very proud that, you had someone to kind of teach you. And it came for me a little late, but I'm thankful that it came. And so now that you've heard it and you see it, you can do it. Because otherwise, kind of grew up in the West Dallas Project, so who's saving what? You're just kind of trying to keep the lights on.
The only negative experience I had was not connecting with the right advisor. Speaking, really, to me, a foreign language. Started throwing out numbers at me and trying to help me understand where he wants me to go and what he wants me to be doing, but I didn't quite understand what it all meant. So then when we try to sit together to understand it and put it on paper, I still didn't get it. So I felt empowered because I thought, wait, if you're going to be my advisor, I'd rather have an advisor I get. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you every meeting and I don't understand what you're talking about. So we don't speak the same language. I didn't get upset. I just thought, this is wasting my time. So I looked for another advisor. So I'm 25 years in working with an advisor, and I'm only on my 5th advisor. When I met my first advisor, he was the building block of my process. The nicest man, but he retired. In my first 5 years, he retired, and they passed me on to another person who I just didn't get. The third person was a lady who was sharp and made me feel like I was going to class at get your homework ready. Let's do this. Why? Because it's important to me, for me. She's helping me. You got to get that in your head. Someone is helping you. You better be on your game. So that little money you're talking about you think you don't have, it is now time to take the little you do have and make it make sense so that you build on it. So my negative was just having an advisor I didn't understand. I felt uncomfortable. He felt like he was talking down to me. So those are some of the nuances we all would feel in any circumstance of dealing with business. But you have the choice. It's your destiny. It's your control. So I just changed advisors. I asked very politely and I asked nicely. And I changed advisors, and it was the best move I've made.
Yeah, we have a hard time telling people no these days, and we want to hide behind electronics and social media and avoid that person to person. But I'll tell you, once you do find that person who understands you and you do vibe with them, there's nothing that beats that personal one-to-one interaction versus call this 1-800 number or go plug in these numbers on this website. It's someone just like here. You can ask questions and they'll take the time to answer them for you, specifically to you and for your situation. So continuing on with that vein, what advice would you guys give to the audience on how to look for a financial advisor?
I think the referral process was best for me because, again, I didn't recognize any of it. And like you said, the language was so foreign. And so you just kind of check with people. And I was surprised at how open people were. And everyone wants you to be successful. So if you just ask. Or there's one right here.
I think it's the same thing, just looking for referrals. The other thing is looking within your community. So if you know people at your church or at your school or your job whom are also using financial advisors and trying to build up your referrals, so you can kind of go through. And like he said, making sure that the person you pick is right for you.
I'll make it real easy. If you all have a bank account, a checking account or a savings account, that means you bank with a major institution or a credit union. They offer the services for free. So it's on you. You no excuses. I don't know. I can't find. I don't know. No. It's free. I walked right into the Chase Bank downtown on Ross Avenue in that big, long, tall, towering building, feeling uncomfortable as I possibly could, and I found an advisor. $800. That's it. $800. That's all I had. I had a 401k with Texas A&M University where I worked. It was $1,300. So that's already somewhere else. So what is it? The advisor can't take that. So I got $800. I'm wasting this man's time is what I thought.
So how much did he laugh at you? Did he laugh at all?
He laughed all the way to the bank when he got through with my account 10 years later.
See?
No laugh. He was a really nice gentleman. He really was. And it ended up, our stories, it just ended up, man. God is good, right? He put me in the path of a very good man because he ended up having a mother that had some of the challenges my mom had. And that's how we connected. And he inspired me to stand up and just say, I'm not afraid anymore and I'm not embarrassed anymore. Poor is a state of mind. And I just said, I want more for my family and I want more for myself. And if I can be a part of helping someone else, that's what I want to do. It's 2019. We're here. We're here. We're sharing our stories to help someone else, to empower someone else. So that was the process for me. Free advice, free. Y'all see that commercial? Free. So no excuses, I don't want to hear how much it costs, how much they charge. I thought all of the same things. Walked right into Chase, and then I went into Wells Fargo, and I got another advisor because I wanted someone to help check on the first advisor. Because grandmothers and granddads, if you don't put that money under your bed, them banks gonna take that money. So I wanted to double check. And then I went to a dinner one night and met an esteemed brother. I'd never heard an articulate banking person talk to me before. I was inspired by him, and I took an advantage of taking up his time. And that was Clifton Johnson. And Clifton ended up being the hardest person I'd ever worked with working on my investments. He just wouldn't let up on me. He asked me to bring that homework every time. He built a binder for me that mapped my goals and my ideas of what I wanted and brought them to me, and we went through it together. That binder is still in my house, and that's my principle. That's my foundation. But that's unique. But find them, look for them. Don't settle with what you don't feel comfortable with. I just asked for another. But I do a referral. Someone said, go to a dinner. I went to a dinner, and I met a financial advisor. So I had 3. Got rid of one, kept Clifton, kept the lady. I've been with Wendy Edwards and Associates at Wells Fargo now for 18 years. I was with Clifton. We built a portfolio together for like 11 years. You can't tell me what you can't do, so I'll be the poster child. You can't tell me what you can't do. You can keep that. You can keep that in the story.
So have they dispelled the myth that you have to have $1 million to work with an advisor?
Yes.
Have they helped dispel the myth that you got to come in a certain situation and certain circumstances to work with an advisor? So what are some questions that you guys have that maybe they haven't answered so far?
But I would say everybody is broadly respected. But I really think that's sharing associated with, asking for someone to help you with investing. Because a lot of times, that's what it is, because you come from a place where no one talked to you about it, you don't think that you have enough, you're embarrassed about your financial state situation, because maybe you shouldn't be there, and go and ask for help, to overcome that obstacle. I think that's huge.
Yeah, one of like Dexter mentioned, Clifton mentioned, the Empower series started with a lot of a focus on financial literacy, because in the minority community, a lot of us are first-generation savers, first generation college graduates, first generation a lot of stuff. And you don't have the mentors, the role models to follow after so that it is natural. And you might have to take a little extra step to go to a workshop on a Saturday on Easter weekend to learn, you know, but you are here. And so again, I encourage you guys to take what you've heard, ask more questions, and put it into action, because you'll be there before you know it. You'll be there before you know it. Other questions?
Do you have any recommendations for resources for children? I have a 6-year-old, and I would like for him to get started with saving and investing.
You know, you have one right in front of you. I mean, this book is on building wealth. It's a beginner's guide. Keep going. Yep, that one right there. It's a great tool for kids and adults on the basics. And with kids, a lot of times it's bringing, you know, some of the jargon that Dexter had mentioned earlier, bringing it to something that makes sense for them. So maybe it's turning that allowance into a teaching tool. You're giving it to them, and now you go buy the food, the toy, the whatever, and once it's gone, it's gone. You know, and so using money as a teaching tool early on really helps them to understand how it works. You know, Melody Hobson, who is the president of Ariel Funds, a black-run investment firm in Chicago, she came from, you know, she was born of a single mother, 6 kids, was poor, and she wanted to change, you know, her financial future. She was always interested in money and how it worked, and so she interned at the Ariel firm when she was in college, ended up working there. Now she's president, worked from the bottom up, and one of the things that she saw was if I had understood money back then, how might my future person be a little different now? And so what they've done is started a school where they give each student, starting at the first grade, $20,000. And then they are given the opportunity to invest that, spend it, and do with it as they please. And at the end, if they graduate from the program, that money turns out to be theirs. And so it's just, again, it's giving the resources so that they can see how it works and then, you know, learn along the way. And so that would be my recommendation, is take some tips from here. And there are classes out there for kids on financial basics, and start them early. Start them early. Great question.
Just have a comment, just for the young lady, Quinn in the middle, for starting early. Just having that mindset to start early and waiting late. But I mean, all 3 of you, very, very good.
Yeah, guys, yesterday in our workshop, we talked about procrastination and time, and how it can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and how a person who took $5,000 at the age of 21 and invested that every year until they were 65 ended up with around $840,000 through compounding interest in time. And then we used Clifton as the procrastinator, where he waited until he was 28 instead of 21. So he waited 7 years, $35,000 later. But what do you think the difference was when he turned 65 versus Quinn, who started at 21? So Quinn has 850,000. What do you think Clifton has when he turned 65? Less. So he would have about 550,000 versus 850,000, with only a $35,000 difference of investment because of starting earlier. The only difference, he started earlier, and same compounding, same investment, everything.
You guys turn to page 10 of the handout that I gave you with the RC one. On page 10, you see something like this, which is the FDIC Money Smart program. So Money Smart has an online program for adults and also young adults. Young adults between 13 and 20 years of age. But they also younger than 13 on the website upscale curriculum for younger students. And all of this is free. So we're able for free. FDIC, you know, pay 10. You have a question, just give me a call or email me and I can bring it to you. Oh, this packet, which is the packet that has a lot of features. If you don't have that, I'll be calling you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So there are a lot of apps out there that speak to investing and growing or saving money. Do you recommend those?
It depends. You know, that's the standard response is it depends. There are some great apps out there that do a lot of different things. Some take your normal everyday spending and rounds it up and takes that round up amount and invests it for you. So if you're spending $4.56 at Starbucks, it'll take that 44 cents and invest it, so now it's $5. And so kind of without you seeing it and feeling it as much, you're saving a little bit along the way. Then there are others where it takes money and it puts it into an investment account for you, this robo-advising, and it tries to do some managing for you. Again, I would, selfishly speaking, say there's nothing better than working with a person who gets to know you, understands your situation, and can answer those questions, and then add on top of that some of these apps to maybe make it a little more robust and a little more comprehensive.
Well, I asked that question because I have a son who's a college student. He's really interested in investing, and so he started doing things like Acorn is the app that he uses to do his investing. But he's also been interested in, I kind of call it a multi-level marketing thing for investing in growth where you have to pay into these funding organizations. And so I'm just trying to coach him to something different because I'm not quite sure that's legitimate because it's more about buying stocks and getting a quick return. So I'm just trying to help him to figure out what's a better way to go.
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds like this is a better way.
yeah, I mean, there's the old tortoise and hare, you know, story that we all know, and most people are looking for that rabbit, quick fix solution that rarely, you know, you run into. There's typically a catch. Acorn isn't a strategy. It's a tool to help you spend up those extra pennies on a dollar. And so it's a great way to invest those extra pennies, but it's not a strategy to help you achieve a certain goal. So there's nothing wrong with it, but that's not a strategy. So you need to have a strategy, and that can maybe fit into it. You know, it's the basic foundation of protection. Come up with the plan, come up with those short, medium, and long-term goals, and then find the ways to achieve it. And Acorn, you know, some of these stocks could be a part of it, but you got to create that plan first.
Just to add to that, you don't try to basically guarantee a return, you want to run. There's no such thing as a guaranteed return.
And that's why I put on there, you know, you might be surprised that an advisor is saying, you know, don't invest in individual stocks. It's because it's very hard to do, you know, and that's the riskiest investment that you can embark upon. And so it should be a certain portion of your portfolio, certainly shouldn't be all of your portfolio. You know, I have a client who works for Apple, and 100% of her investments were in Apple for salary, Apple was the 401k, Apple was the stocks that she had, and it's been a great run. But what happens when that iPhone maybe starts to self-combust and the stock goes down? Or what happens when, you know, whatever else happens? So you have to diversify and spread it across multiple investments. Or you're just, you know, you're in for a world of hurt if life were to happen. Other questions? Has this been helpful?
Yeah.
Great.
No, go ahead.
She's truly someone that should be inspiring to parents who have children, but also to us in general. But I'll say this, an advisor becomes your accountability coach. So all these questions that are being asked, and that's where we all are. Is we have these questions, we have these ideas, we think to ourselves, we think with others who may tell us some things that may not be right. But what we don't do is we don't have a circle of people in our group closest to us who will be honest, who will tell us the black and white, and help us run from the gray areas. Because that's something I knew for certain I had to do, is make sure I took care of the base. But if I started getting some get rich quick scheme, or I'm going to make this money, real soon, you might as well go to Vegas. Your chances and your odds are absolutely the same. You're going to walk out of there like the rest of them, looking like you fiending for a ticket back home because you done lost everything. Versus having someone you talk to, having someone who will put a challenge before you, but they'll do the research, and they'll bring the research to you to conversate about what it is we're asking. I really recommend someone being your accountability coach that is an advisor, but if not an advisor, as Chris said earlier, our circle. We hope that we have a good circle of people that encourage us, that push us up, not shame us, not someone who boasts and I got this, I got none of that. I don't want no parts of that. I want someone who really makes me feel it's possible and help me to understand what it is I'm trying to achieve. But an advisor still, again, working with these guys, just even from this project's perspective, listening to their task orientation, listening to the strategy, listening to how they're going to put the information in our minds, still, again, it's an accountability process. It's not sexy saving money. Oh, trust me. I almost gave up many a time. But here I am still saying, I still look up to them, and I still look up to that information because it still helps me grow more. Just when you think, you meet people who say, I done done all I'm going to do. My mentor, good mentor, he says, when I graduated college, welcome to forever learning. And I always wanted to keep learning. So that's what they provide to you. So utilize that the best you can. But still, again, it was a question on our survey. What would you tell yourself now? What would you tell your old self?
May I have your attention, please?
Easter egg.
I would have told her, get that Easter egg. That's what I told her. Get that gold Easter egg. That's what I would have told her.
Line up outside for our second round of the Easter egg.
Second round.
It's just perfect timing,
Right.
All
too.
the time.
So Quinn, please.
So Quinn, yes.
Yes, so I guess my last comment I would make is, so my mom actually grew up in west side of Chicago. She came here to Texas in like '93, and it was just her and my two older siblings. And so one of the things that I always commend my mom on is that every time she learned something, she'd bring it back home and teach us as well. So that's something I guess advise everyone here, if you have kids, even if you're learning it, it doesn't mean that you can't bring your kid along and teach them as well.
Final comment. Oh,
I'd actually like to add on to that because of, it's just interesting growing up, and as I said, going over there, my girlfriend, she's taught me a whole lot in regards to what she's learned from a financial basis is because of what you, what your parents teach you is something that, as I said, growing up or whatnot, like it's going to reflect in your kids. So, I know my mom came from a very, very struggling, she was struggling growing up, but as she grew up and whatnot, became very affluent. I'm really grateful for the position that she set us in and the opportunity that she gave for us. But, I understand that also, with spending habits and things like that, that didn't really change, So as I said, although, even for me, I make exponentially a lot more, I also spend even more as well, but looking back, where did I get that from? And I said, as parents and whatnot, that makes a huge difference. Now, am I grateful for my mom? Yes, she's by far the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life. My dad as well.
aside from Quinn. Oh, no. Go ahead.
But, as parents, as grandparents, as even, friends, acquaintances and whatnot, the things that your habits and things like that make a huge difference with the individuals that you spend most of your time around. I'm really grateful to understand that, taking finances into account. Like, I'm really risky when it comes to my investments, but because of that, I'm like, oh, I'm young, I'll just, pull like stocks or whatever, like low cost index funds, I'll do all this crazy stuff. But like, there also has to be an understanding of like, what's that baseline? What are things you need to set aside parameters and whatnot? Like, how many months of like income do I have? I guess like, do I have saved up and things along those lines? And that's something that I really started to truly understand and take more into account. Considering my background and where I grew up from as well, and that's something that, as I said, I've learned. So.
No, that's wonderful. That's perfect. One of the things that he mentioned of, you are a sum of the people around you, and so if you want to change your behaviors and habits, maybe you need to get around different people, and that's one of the reasons I'm sure you came here was to learn from a different set of people. So don't be afraid to ask questions and maybe attend future events like this. But perfect comments. Any final comments?
So 2 things quickly. To your son's point of wanting to try to go it alone and without an advisor, ask that sweetheart, if he were having surgery tomorrow, would he want to cut and work on himself? Because that's about the same as trying to approach his finances. And 2, there's a mom out here asking about her son or what to teach him. He is to do what you do, not what you say. And the thing he's going to do the most is the thing that you do when you think he's not looking. So you'll be the light. You'll be the teacher. You are his first advisor, his greatest teacher. So as you better yourself financially, and you better yourself spiritually, and you better yourself educationally, versus barking at him, he's going to sit and do it. When you're pounding out the bills on the table, tell him, well, here, babe, can you add this up, or subtract this, and he'll start to just understand it like that. And then he'll get a financial advisor when he's older.
Got it. So, again, define your own financial freedom phrase for you. Because it is your journey, it's your life. It's hard to break that vicious cycle of wanting the shinier, bigger, newer thing. But you got to ask yourself, how is that fitting into your financial plan, your financial future? And again, the better you can visualize that future you, the more I think you'll find those habits changing today. So with that, I want to thank you guys for coming out. Hopefully it has been helpful and you got some good nuggets of info. And we'll stick around for some questions, but appreciate it. I would ask you guys to fill out the questionnaire, give us some feedback, take that info. My information is on the newsletter, so if you have questions that came up driving home later this week, feel free to call me, email me. I gladly welcome any of your questions and look forward to maybe meeting you in the future to start that financial building roadmap for you. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Clifton.
All right, go.
Hi, my name is Quinn Love, and today I had one of the greatest opportunities to be a part of the panel at the Empower series here today. And just some advice that I shared here with the audience, and I'd like to continue to share with a lot of the individuals who don't really have a financial advisor who are my age. I am in my 20s, so one of the things I wanted to share is just go out there, use a referral, and ask around about different financial advice you can get. One of the rewards I got from this, of course, is just feeling like I have financial freedom. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Hawkins, and I had the honor of being a guest on the panel today at the Financial Empowerment Series. And I just want to say that I'm a student of life and I'm learning. You don't have in this process because you don't ask. Everyone's in place and they just kind of want to help you out. So please understand going forward. You'll start out with 0, but everyone starts somewhere. And the only way to get there is you have to take the stairs. It's long, it's steady, it's breathing, and it's practicing. It's not always fun, but I can guarantee you it will be worth it. So I pray for you in your journey as I continue on my own, and just understand you will save, you will stay focused, you will make a plan, and you will work the plan. I'm wishing you luck. Be blessed.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here with the Empower series. This is the April month opportunity for us to discuss and be panelists to talk about our fears and new opportunities. Don't let time be your difficulty. Let it be the spirit of getting re-energized and giving yourself a chance to reinvest in yourself. The Empower series wants to do that, and it encourages you to be part of a community that helps to foster learning and to change the path of our journeys. So please, attend the next Empower series and be a part of something great.
Thank you for watching our Empower Series YouTube video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Remember to hit the subscribe button below, as well as the little button to be notified the next time we upload our video. Until then, stay connected with us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your social media flavor is. Inspire the world to thrive. See you soon.